Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Hey, did you hear about the old Missouri Hills redneck? He was a track star. Yeah, he won a gold medal in the Olympics. He was so proud of it, he went out and had it bronzed. I know. I'm sorry. Good morning, here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Call in. Good morning. Oh, good morning, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, my goodness, on a Wednesday already, January the 13th. My goodness, we're brought to you, of course, by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and as I choked to death, excuse me, some of our great advertisers snuck right up on me. Some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone lines and have our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, I really appreciate it when you call in. You do a great job. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. Hey, it is time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. You know, they've got everything over there. I mean, all your flooring and your carpet and your kitchen construction needs and home decor items. You know, if you really want to personalize and individualize your home and the interior of your home, these people know. Absolutely. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945. And now here's Gina with the weather.
Well, hopefully you're prepared for some more snow showers for today, because that is a possibility. About a 30% chance this afternoon. Slightly breezy winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 38, night low of 28. Tomorrow, going to be a day of reprieve, but the winds will be picking up out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour. Partly cloudy, high of 34 with an overnight low of 28. Morning snow showers expected for Friday, high of 35. And then rain and snow showers mixed for Saturday with a high of 38. Yesterday's high was 34 and the overnight low was 15. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
All right, Gina, great job this morning, and I appreciate it. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door or give them a call at 678-6945. I suppose you know what we're going to talk about first and foremost this morning. Well, you might be a little bit misgiven on that because I've got another story I want to hit first. We're going to be talking naturally about the State of the Union speech last night, or, pardon me, the lecture. And then I'm going to hit some other stories, too. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start off with another story real quick. And I mean this. Every word out of my mouth is sincere. Congratulations to the Minico Spartans basketball team. And I'll tell you why I really want to say congratulations to them. They're number 1 ranked. And the headline in the paper this morning, I thought, was kind of a slam against them and their audience and their crowd. The headline read in the paper this morning in the illustrious Times News, number 1 ranked Spartans flex in second half, crush Bruins behind raucous crowd. And the opening paragraphs were, when Minico boys basketball is at its very best, the Spartans have an undeniable home court advantage, with the fans who swarm to the gym in hordes seemingly right on top of the court. It's a stifling and overwhelming experience for visiting teams. It can be hard to breathe, and it can be hard to score, too. You know, it was almost like there was a condemnation there. Maybe I'm wrong. Of the fans, but God bless Minico's fans for turning out and supporting their kids and letting themselves be heard. That's what it's all about. And so this morning I give a great big Zeb at the Ranch salute to the Minico Spartans and their crowd. Keep it up. Get louder. Thank you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They've got all-year furnace filters. You heard Gina say we might have snow on Friday morning, and that means when you stick your little tippy toes out of the bed in the morning, you want to make sure that everything's nice and warm. Well, I'll tell you what, they've got the furnace filters. They've got everything for you. I've got a call coming in. Now, how in the world could somebody expect me to answer a cell phone on the air? Don't forget all the furnace filters and all your heating and electrical needs. You be sure and check that out today. Call them or stop in at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. By the way, too, right now, if you're getting out of bed and you looked at your wife and she said, "What do you want? Oatmeal?" Ugh. No, you don't want oatmeal. You want to run over to Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley or 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. America's Diner. Tell your lovely bride of I don't know how many years that you're going to take her out for breakfast or whatever, and just enjoy a delicious meal. Oh, my goodness, it's always good. Great folks, too, at Denny's Restaurant. And next week on Thursday, the 21st, we will be at Denny's for our monthly lunch bunch. Don't forget it, Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. The State of the Union speech last night. We had company last night. Our dear friends, Kilt Man and Lori were there. And it was really kind of rude of me. I told them after we were visiting, I said, I got to listen to this speech from Obama and take notes for this morning's program. And then early this morning, I was on the phone to Washington, D.C. and New York to find out exactly what the basics of the speech were and what the think tanks thought of it. And so we've kind of compiled some of the notes that I have from those folks this morning. I think that it was, my own personal opinion, it was very boring and dull and dishonest. And I'm going to use that word dishonest. There were a lot of things in there that were not true. And if you run a fact check on them, and I have, many things about the economy, many things about our involvement over the Middle East, not true. And above all, Obama hid the truth about various subjects of where we are in regards to really current world problems and we as a nation. It was not a State of the Union message. I mean, really, did he break down and say, well, we're here on this and we're here on this and we're fighting? No, it was just kind of a pie-in-the-sky want list. That's my opinion. Now, he did not at all give some of the facts. And he did not at all talk about some of the very important stories in the news that are affecting us. One story that almost every single person I talked to a man yesterday before the speech and then this morning, they thought sure that he'd say something about Iran taking 10 of our Navy sailors in custody. They turn them loose this morning, but here's the gist of the story. They let our sailors go, but they kept our boats. Yeah, they kept our boats, and they demanded an apology, which we gave them. Now, somebody please call me and tell me why. Why do we, the United States of America, have to kowtow to a bunch of absolute renegade ragheads, which they are, and I'm not going to back up. We have given them everything. We've given allowances to the point where, yes, you know as well as I do, they're going ahead right now with the processing and the maturation process of developing nuclear arms. You know that. And we're giving them $150 billion back from the sanctions in a couple of weeks. $150 billion. And they have broken the agreement already in so many ways, shapes, and forms. And they hold 10 of our sailors, finally turn them loose, but keep the boats because they want to study all the electronics gear on board. And they demand an apology from us. What? Caller, stand by just a minute. I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody, on Tuesdays, we have Dr. History, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Zach and the rest of the crew, I'm telling you, serving you with all your lumber, all your carpet needs, all your shingles, all your quality Western windows, everything at Minnecasia Sales. Dr. History's on Tuesdays at 10:06. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zab. Yeah, that speech was useless yesterday. Any country in the world today under this Obama could bring us to our knees in a minute. Now, here we're going to send billions of dollars over to this country who's developing a bomb that someday may be used against us. What sense does this guy make?
Well, the whole administration and the whole approach by the Democratic Party is absolutely insane. Now, if there's Democrats out there that are absolutely cringing and tearing their fingernails from me saying that, that's the way it is, that's the way I feel. I found that speech last night to be nothing more than appeasement. I found that speech to be nothing more than a kind of a lecture on how we should be and how we should change to accept what Obama wants. And I personally, Tony, I'm not going to do it.
Oh, I don't blame you. Another thing that's he hasn't brought up these refugees coming in here. We can't support all these refugees.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any Social Security left for people like you and I who paid into it all these years. The more he brings in, the more cuts we're going to have in our Social Security.
Absolutely.
I mean, this guy's a deadbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it that the money's not there. I mean, you can keep running to the till and drawing stuff out of there, but pretty soon all the different compartments are empty, and that's what's going to happen. Tony, God bless you and Mary, and thank you always for your daily call. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
God bless you, man. Thanks. You know, I agree with Tony. I just absolutely sat there last night, and he was bragging about Obamacare. And he was bragging about how the economy is getting so much better. Really? And I thought to myself, what are you talking about? His economic dreams of the economy being better is a myth. And I started going through some of the stuff here that he wants, and he said last night, anyone claiming that the America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction. Oh, really? Despite all the market declines we've seen, and despite all the businesses that are filing bankruptcy, despite all the jobs that are going overseas, despite everything else, this man says we're doing a great economy. And here's one part of his speech last night. I'm going through thousands of pages here this morning. That may be an exaggeration, probably hundreds. But he suggested in his speech last night that the country needs to strengthen various classes in schools and make higher education more affordable. And there was a suggestion in the speech last night, 2 years of free community college is the best way to tackle the issue. Ladies and gentlemen, the word free is really kind of a silly, frivolous word. Nothing is free. And we've heard this insinuation before about free community college for 2 years. No, It's nothing more than another grab at our billfolds to take the money out of there to pay for other parents' kids. Nobody paid my way through school. I paid my own. That's not a brag, that's a fact. And I'm a little sick and tired of free, gimme to the millennials, when in essence, if you want a college education and you can't qualify for the scholarships, be they athletic or academic, get your sorry self out there and go to work and earn the money and pay for it yourself. Calm down, Zeb. Don't forget, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I was in there the other day, and I'm going to be back there again twice next week. They can help you get back to being and feeling like you. Best of sports medicine and exercises and the hydrotherapy pool. Oh, my goodness sakes, Nick and the whole crew of physical therapists there, you go. They are working to help you feel better. 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Well, that's a novel idea for someone that wants something to get off their butt and go out and work for it and earn it.
No, Doug, you know something? I'm really upset about this morning, and I was talking to a good friend of mine up in Oregon this morning earlier, and he agreed with me. We're just in a gimme state. I don't know who paid for your education. It's really none of my business. I know I paid for my own, and I absolutely appreciated it. I tried harder. I graduated second in my particular class of my degree, which was communications. I'm very proud of what I've done, and again, that's not brag, that's fact, but I paid for it.
Well, my education, I'm still going to it, School of Hard Knocks.
Aren't we all?
And it costs me dearly every once in a while.
Absolutely.
But, that boat, where they captured that boat, and he didn't even mention it. That's a disgrace. You know
as well as I do, and I've read various stories and watched a lot of it since 3:45 this morning. The Iranians went through those boats with a tooth and a comb, and they were getting everything they could off electronic surveillance techniques and everything else. But it's just the thought that here are a bunch of people that absolutely are so sinister and so deadly, and we're kowtowing to them. We're giving them back $150 billion in sanction money. We're basically telling them, here's your free pass around the monopoly board, and then they turn around and they hold some of our sailors, keep our boats, and demand an apology. Wait a minute. What's wrong with this picture, Doug?
Well, the first thing that's wrong with the picture is the president's advisor. Where's she from?
Well, I know that. She's from the Middle East, and Valerie Jarrett is the least to be trusted in this administration, no question.
And she's the one that's telling Obama what to do and what to say, and the Iranians are telling her what to tell Obama what to do.
Well, now, wait a minute. That's speculation, and you know me, I'm pretty hard on speculation. That's a speculative idea on your part, and I only deal in facts. I don't know that to be true. I can surmise and guesstimate that it might be, but we don't know that for a fact.
Well, I don't. I should have stated this is my opinion, and it is my opinion. I feel that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Like I say, I can't prove it, but the actions sure speak pretty damn loud.
Yeah, and there's something else I want to throw in here this morning. For those that have forgotten, Pastor Abedini and others that are rotting away in prison cells in Iran. It's never been brought up. Did you hear Obama say anything about that last night? No, you did not.
Nope.
And here we are giving back $150 billion to these cretins. And I think personally there should be a little glue on the edge of the check. And you hold on to it with your thumb and your forefinger on that glue and you say, oh, wait a minute. You're not going to take this check out of my hand until you release those prisoners like right now or 5 minutes before that.
Exactly. That's exactly true. And here he's vetoed the when they sent another bill up there to increase some sanctions because of their missile tests, he vetoed it.
I do not understand where the man is coming from. There was a complete, and I beg somebody to tell me I'm wrong on this, there was a complete apologetic attitude towards Muslims, toward the Middle East last night that it made me furious. I was shaking so bad writing the notes from what I heard. I better not use the cowboy word, I was upset.
Upset.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, and I thought, I'll just catch the highlights later. I got better things to do.
Well, wait a minute, though. In some ways, and you're a good enough friend, I can arbitrate with you on that. I think it was very important for all of us to sit and listen and tear it apart and really understand what he was saying. What he was saying about the Muslims. What he was saying about acceptance of gay marriage. What he was saying about the economy and the lies that he perpetrated. All of these things I think America should have been aware of and cognizant of, because I have said from the get-go, and you know Doug Martin more than anything else for the last 7+ years, I have absolutely said my disdain for this president and this administration. I'm very prejudiced against him, but all the things that I said before he was elected the first time have come true. This is the worst president ever in the United States history.
And that's all he's worrying about, his legacy, and frankly, Americans shouldn't give a dang about his legacy. We need to give a dang about the legacy of America.
Yeah, you know, I got to say this. One part of the speech last night that I absolutely wanted to throw my 39-cent pen right into the wall was the part about ISIS and how we shouldn't be concerned about ISIS and that we're overplaying the severity of ISIS. And yesterday, before he gave the speech, it came out that ISIS is developing chemical weapons with engineers and scientists that are already available and can be used in the next short period of time. Now, you think I'm not scared about that, Doug?
I'm scared about it. I really am. And this is my opinion again. I think he's one of them.
I am not going to argue anything about that. I'm just going to sit here and wait for the speculation to subside, and then I'm going to go find the facts, and we'll be tied him if I do. Doug, I got to run. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, just one real quick thing. Did you look in on that HR 4269?
I did not have a chance because my lovely bride had to leave early this morning for some appointments, and without her and her efficiency on the computer, you are talking to a very stupid person.
Anyway, the listeners out there, look it up.
All right.
4269.
Okay.
And let's talk to our congressman.
All right, Doug. Thanks much, buddy. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Got to run. We'll take some more calls in just a moment. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental. I believe they're going to be on the air with us tomorrow. I've got to check my cheat sheet here in a minute. Barry Equipment and Rental, and they're located on Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Now, they have all the equipment you need to get the job done right. That's a gimme. Now, I understand they're going to be starting to get rid of a lot of the rental fleet. You know, a lot of the Coyote tractors and the Bobcat equipment. Oh, my goodness, you can save a lot of money. Yep, they've got great financing available, too. So check it out on the equipment at Barry Equipment and Rental. Twin Falls, Jerome, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They are the best for the equipment that you need. By the way, too, we want to remind you about our dear, dear friend, and that's the doctor, Dr. Christine Pickup over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You know, I am so glad, and I mean this, that we developed a friendship with her and learn more about hearing aids and about hearing problems. She is absolutely the best and understands all the various problems. Maybe your lack of hearing is caused by medicine, or maybe some kind of a health condition you're not aware of. You better call for a hearing screening. And the number 312-0957. They're right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. By the way, on Mondays, we always give away a half dozen cinnamon rolls. Delicious, gooey, great cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert, and we'll do the same next Monday. So you be listening, and you can stop in to eat anytime at Sophie's Chatterbox on the Square in Rupert. All right, give us a call, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Excuse me on the cough. That just isn't going away. Last night, during the State of the Union message, you can take the first four words and kind of sum up what I thought about it, or first four letters and sum up what I thought of it. Mess. Iowa Republican Representative Stephen King got up in the middle of it and walked out. He walked out. Now, some perceive this as being very rude to the president, but Representative Stephen King said he got up and left because he was sick and tired of being lectured to, and was sick and tired of being condemned as always being wrong in the way he voted, etc. And you know what he did? And you know where he went? He went to a chapel nearby to pray. Evidently, what was being said in that State of the Union message last night upset him so much, he couldn't take it anymore. He got up and left, and he prayed. He prayed about our Constitution, and he prayed about our country. And he said he prayed about our nation being healed somehow and getting back on the right track. And so if I'm going to salute anybody this morning for having the backbone and the moxie to get up and leave and go to a higher power, the highest power, I salute Iowa Representative Stephen King. And I look up to him for what he did. You know, I mentioned this a little bit ago, but most of all last night, my absolute disdain for this president became very apparent when again and again he downplayed ISIS. And he downplayed you and me for our being fearful of Muslims and attacks around the globe and now here in the United States. And he minimized the danger factor of ISIS and the way that they want to kill us. And I just absolutely was, I wanted to play AT&T and reach out and touch somebody. Oh, man, I'm so frustrated with this man because he will not call it like it is. And he said absolutely nothing in that State of the Union speech last night to build up our police forces here in this country. Whether they're a little two-man force in Podunk, Iowa, or whether it's a big police force like the NYPD. They are under siege right now by a very bad element in our society. And he did nothing, said nothing about building up our police. And that highly offended me. Your thoughts. Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, while I have a moment waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I can feel it. Redder's Showcase at 2611 Overland in Burley. You know what? They are having all kinds of special winter clearance sales going on right now at Redder's Showcase. Old Guy and the rest of the crew over there. They've got in their bedding department Serta, Tempur-Pedic, Therapeutic. They've got all these items that I'm talking about, like, oh my goodness, they've got 40% off on floor model Tempur-Pedics and 30% off the floor models of Serta and Comforts. Oh my goodness. You better get over there. 12 months, same as cash on approved credit. And they've got winter clearance going on with the great big one-of-a-kind models, floor models, overstock models, scratch and dent models of their Whirlpool, Amana, Maytag, and KitchenAid. What are you waiting for? Warm up the car. Get over to Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley today. All right, let's get some calls in here. I'm lonesome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another aspect of the speech, we knew it was coming. All of us did that follow this stuff. Obama really was touting the progressive changes of green energy. Yeah, the wind and the solar. Boy, he carried the banner last night, you bet. But he didn't mention, naturally he wouldn't, how we, you and me, my wife, your spouse, we are subsidizing to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars green energy to even stay in existence. It's not working, and it's not cost effective. And at the same time that we're subsidizing green energy, we are letting good paying jobs with a fuel that works for us. It's been cleaned up for our environment. It's absolutely the way to go. We're killing the coal industry. Killing it. Another coal company filed bankruptcy yesterday. But yet, we keep paying through the nose for this idiocy that is not working. There are more bankruptcies on the list of solar and wind power companies. And by the way, let me ask you a question out there. I'll ask that question after I talk to this caller. Good morning, caller. I don't want to keep you waiting. Go ahead.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you?
I watched that thing last night, and like I was telling Will, before I watched it, I took all of the throwable items and put them in the other room.
Okay.
It was definitely a lecture to us conservatives, basically him bragging how great he was and how, we shouldn't fear this or fear that. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Well, he took most...
The energy.
Yeah. He took most of the blame last night. If there was going to be blame cast upon any group or individual, he took it and he pointed right at Congress itself. He would not take any blame. He was faultless. He was squeaky clean. He was the Charmin paper in the bathroom. But I'll tell you what, his shortcomings have caused these problems.
Well, yeah, this is the way that this type of leader is he can do no wrong. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
And that's that's basically one of the basic bylines of the liberals. Oh, everything's somebody else's fault.
Well, I'm like you. I'm like you. I listened to it. I listened to all the speech. I took down 5 pages of notes while he was talking. And everything that I checked on last night, and then I checked again this morning at the various think tanks back in New York and Washington, D.C., man, I'll tell you what, there are a lot of loopholes and absolute lies in what he said last night in the State of the Union message. But the main thing is he didn't really give us a State of the Union. He gave us, like I said earlier, a lot of pie in the sky wants.
Yeah. He never actually said what State of the Union was. He was saying, how his programs have made the economy better. No, I don't think so. And he, in a roundabout way, if you listened into it, you could still hear him blaming George Bush.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there was no question about that. Absolutely. God bless you for your call, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
All right, bye. Thank you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. For those of you that watched it last night, and I know a lot of my audience did and usually does. But what were your thoughts on it? I'd like to hear what you thought. You can call me and you can tell me, well, yeah, Zeb, I agree with you there. And I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. One other mention I want to make was about voting. I want to talk about that. There was some time allocated in that speech last night to basically intimate that there's going to be changes in the electoral process. Now, I had told you that on the air yesterday, long before his speech. And I got to thinking about this last night. Can anybody out there in the audience tell me, honestly, come on, Tell me that you know somebody or that somebody told you that they could not go vote at a polling booth, or they were turned away, or they were rejected. Somebody tell me that. Now, A, are they a legal citizen? Oh, gee, maybe that's why they didn't vote. And didn't they have any proper identification? Oh, gee, well, they know the election's coming up. Get your sorry you-know-what in and make sure you've got identification. I can't think of one serious reason why anybody in this country cannot vote. They've made it easy for anybody and everybody, whether they're shut-ins, whether they have physical disabilities and impairments, whether whatever. But why? Was there an insinuation by him and the Democrats that, well, we've got to clean up the election process in this country so that everyone can vote? So my question to you is this morning, who can't that is legally able to? You got to answer that for me, because I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please, I'd like to have your opinion on that. While I'm waiting for your call, we're going to do the weather real quick. And the weather is brought to everybody by Mad River Laser. Wow, I think the world of Nicole and the folks over there at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. Holy buckets, do they do a nice job on all your year-end awards and trophies and everything for your employees, or maybe all your business promotional items. I don't care if it's jackets or caps or whether it's pens or briefcases, what they can do, and they do a beautiful job on everything. Caller, I'll be right there. Bear with me. I got to get the weather in there. Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. And now here's Gina with the weather.
Well, hopefully you're prepared for some more snow showers for today, because that is a possibility. About a 30% chance this afternoon. Slightly breezy winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 38, night low of 28. Tomorrow, going to be a day of reprieve, but the winds will be picking up out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour. Partly cloudy, high of 34, with an overnight low of 28. Morning snow showers expected for Friday, high of 35. And then rain and snow showers mixed for Saturday with a high of 38. Yesterday's high was 34 and the overnight low was 15. That's your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you much, and welcome back, Zebeth Ranch. I can't take that call right now. I'm sorry about that. We want to remind you, Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert, bringing you the weather this hour. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Sorry to keep you waiting.
You're fine, Zeb. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
You're not being facetious, but you're talking about the people who are not voting. They want to be able to make vote. You know, the only people I can think of that were legal at one point are the people who are dead. And there's been proven in other states that people who have been deceased in towns have showed up to the voting booth in several elections on numerous occasions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you. There's all kinds of ways, including with some of the Black Panthers standing out there with billy cubs and everything. I'm so sick and tired of the perverted, sick, pathetic left always claiming that somebody didn't get their right to vote so we can slide in our sleazy candidates. I'm sick of this.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to bring up. You know, it's okay for the Black Panther group to go out there and beat up old grandma or grandpa or intimidate somebody that's going to go vote for their opposing, you know, someone that they oppose. But heaven forbid that me or you should voice our opinion in a non-violent way on the people that we want to have elected.
Yeah.
You know, it's we don't use violence and we don't use physical force, but we use our knowledge and talk about it, and they come down on us. So
absolutely.
They come down to the opposite side, actually using brute force and billy clubs and calling us racist because we want to vote for who we want to vote for. That's kind of messed up now.
You know, I want an election, and Roddy, I appreciate your call. I'm going to respond on the air here. We got a little bit of a shake in the phone line. Thank you very much, buddy. I want an election that's fair. I want an election that's honest. I want an election that everybody is treated equally. And why aren't they being treated fair now? Come on. If you are out there in Radio Land, a member of a minority, and for some strange reason you don't feel like you've been treated fairly, call. Come on, the phone lines are open. Tell me, how bad it was and how you didn't get a chance to voice your opinion through a vote. I want to know about it. We should check into it. Why, we should pursue this and go right to the edge of the canyon rim and find out why you were discriminated against. But really, come on. Every time I go to vote, I see a fairness and an equity for everyone if we follow all the same rules and regulations. But when you start saying, well, we've got to change the election process in this country so that it's fair for everybody to vote, where's the unfairness? Come on, Obama, you brought it up. Come on, Democrats, Harry Reid, you keep bringing it up. Why is it you? Why is it these distorted minds from the liberal left are always saying, well, we got beat because the election process wasn't fair? What's not fair about it? What's not fair about it? I walk in, I sign my name, they check my ID, I go vote. What's not fair about that? What is so hard about taking the time, gosh, golly, a little bit before the election day and going and making sure that you have the proper ID? You know, the election's coming up this year, 2016. Do you think you ought to go get the paperwork necessary? Duh. Instead of using a real slimy excuse like, well, man, I didn't have it and they wouldn't let me vote. That's terrible. That's unfair. I didn't get a chance to voice my opinion. Ay. I don't have any sympathy for that. I'm glad they didn't go vote. Somebody call me and tell me what is unfair that Obama and his twisted minds back there want to change. And why was there an insinuation last night in that State of the Union speech that the way we vote now is unfair and discriminatory? Somebody help me on that. Please give me a call. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to get this in real quick, and then I'll take some more calls. The American Legion Post 82 and American Legion Auxiliary Unit 82 in Eden is hosting a spaghetti dinner. It's a fundraiser for Jim Coleman family that lost everything in a house fire. And this dinner is going to take place on January 23rd from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Snug Bar and Grill in Eden. The cost is $10 a person, and 100% of the proceeds going to the Colemans. And there's also going to be a silent auction and live music from 7 p.m. with Gina Jones, and going to be a lot of fun. So if you need more information on what they need, maybe as far as clothing and furniture, etc., go to the City of Hazleton Facebook page, and they're going to have updates on what they need. Okay? Help them out, please. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. On another subject that I picked up the paper this morning, and this really, I know that for all my friends that are veterans, all the people that I know, whether they served in the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the Coast Guard, doesn't make a bit of difference. They served. A U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that wearing unearned military honors is free speech protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. Now, this, for some reason, just really gets under my skin and makes me itch. How dare somebody go out and put on various medals and wear a uniform of the United States of America when A, they are not veterans, B, they did not earn those medals, and C, to me, it diminishes the value of our real heroes. And this Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, comprised of a bunch of nitwits, they said it's legal and part of the First Amendment of free speech. You know, I think of all the people I know, all the people I've served. And I think actually all the time about a very, very dear friend of this program who is right now residing in a veterans home up in Pocatello, and that's my dear friend Russell Smith. He fought for this country and was wounded 3 times and has 3 very, very well-earned Purple Hearts. And then this Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a bunch of dim bulbs that if you turned on the power, they still wouldn't have a bright light. They say that anybody can wear those medals because it's a part of free speech. Veterans, call me and let me know of your opinion on this. To me, it's a slap in the face. To me, it's a denigration of the value of our real heroes. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, don't forget all 7 of the Magic Valley Les Schwab tire centers. Oh boy, have they got all the tires you need for safe driving. You know, all the different tread designs, if you want to be traction ready, they're ready to help you. They've got all the tire chains, they've got all the studded snow tires, they've got it all for you. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget, too, they got the best in batteries. When you go out on a cold morning and turn the key, yup, there you go. The best in brake service and front end alignments and shocks and struts, all of this and more, along with the nicest people and the best in service. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeff. It's me again. You just touched a hair on me that just drives me mad every time I see it. People earn those. That is something they earned. To me, that's not a free speech anything. That soldier who earned those medals, they earn them. And for somebody just to put one on and find it and just to wear it because they think, well, I have the right to. You didn't earn it, buddy.
Yeah.
That's not fair. That is not fair. It's not right. And it's to me, it goes a little further than just that. It's like seeing people in camouflage or BDUs that the military has surplused. Man, I had to work my tail off for the right to wear them.
Yeah.
We were told by our drill instructors when we went in that you're going to earn the right to wear these. These are something to be proud to be seen in. That's how come they're supposed to be taken care of and worn properly.
Yeah.
And not just shoddily.
I agree with you.
It's infuriating to me to see somebody denigrate a soldier to that level.
I appreciate your call, Riley. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it very much. And I know that of the veterans I know this morning, they are probably outraged over this because it's a diminishment of value, it's a diminishment of pride, and it's a diminishment of who they really are. They, our veterans, the cream of the crop, the best of the best. And now some worthless leech, and when I use the word leech, they are leeching off of their meritorious service and putting on a medal or whatever that signifies they earned something they didn't even or weren't even a part of. How dare this Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals destroy really the true value of the First Amendment by saying people can absolutely wear and promote medals that they didn't earn. To our military and to all the veterans out there, I did not serve because my legs were a mess. I was 4F. But until I quit this program, I don't know when it'll be, but until I give up this microphone, I will salute you. I will honor you for your service to this country, the real heroes. And on the other side of that coin, I will denigrate and I'll go to the end of the earth to run down anybody that is a liar, a fraud, and a charlatan that is trying to claim some of the merit from what you've done. And I think the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, like I said earlier, comprised of a bunch of idiots. Coming up next hour, we're going to have Dave Bego from Indianapolis, Indiana. And then an interesting case that we're going to talk to the Pacific Legal Foundation about at 9:30. And then at 10:06 this morning, don't forget our dear friend Kelton Hatch. I had to remind him to come on over here this morning with the Idaho Fishing Game. Don't go away. We're going to send it over to Wheels right now at our main studios. We'll be back in about 6 minutes. Don't leave. Oh, good morning. Hour number 2 on this Wednesday, January 13th. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And our dear friends, one of our great advertisers, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, yep, they are always at your disposal. Call the number 734-6969. Get on the route service once a week. They're there to get your garbage. It's gone. Don't forget they've got all the carts, the dumpsters, the roll-offs, the portable restrooms. Can't forget those. Everything you need right there, locally owned and operated by the best. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Really good folks. By the way, too, every morning we start the program, don't forget, with our weather forecast at 8:06, and Cheney Flooring and Home Design sponsors that weather Monday through Thursday. Thank you very much. They're located at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. All your carpet, flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, look for the blue door at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. By the way, before we get our guest on, I also want to say thank you very much to Joel Heward, manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. You know, simply put, when there's the passing of a loved one, everything goes into a spin. You've only got a short period of time to get everything done, dot all the I's, cross all the T's. They can help you and go to you to help you with the arrangements. And they always serve you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them today. Joel Heward and his staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. Call them today. My friend back in Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bego. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
I am fantabulous, and I've got to tell you, and I know that you and I both played a lot of sports in our life, but last Sunday, during the Packer and Redskin game, in the second quarter, one pass play all of a sudden turned the power switch back on for the Packers, and they took over the game offensively and defensively, and the old Pack was back. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was great to see, and I hope they do well in Arizona this weekend.
Well, I kind of wish they didn't have to go there. But anyhow, it's going to be quite a game. Hey, man, I got to ask you, I want to get into your blog about unions, but I also want to ask you a little bit about the last night's so-called State of the Union message. Basically, I thought it was nothing more than a list of wants and wannabes. What were your thoughts about what Obama said last night?
Well, Zeb, to me, It's just the normal rhetoric that people like him uses, that just to keep people off balance and make them feel good and get them to think that he's good and do the things that he wants to do. Same thing that I experienced with the unions. They like to go out and just throw out all that stuff, and I just thought it was a waste of the time for the American people. And and just like he talks about, around the world, we're doing good things. Yeah, we're the strongest nation in the world, and we're doing good things and all that. But the truth is, he's not using the great military power that he says we are to take care of problems we've got in the Middle East and other places in the world. And that's why I say it's all rhetoric. It isn't anything specific that we are really going to do these things.
Dave, you're a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a highly successful individual in business to where you've had to sit down and negotiate and adhere to good negotiating skills, and from there shake your hand, sign a contract, and go on. What in the world is with this Iranian deal that we're going to give them back $150 billion on past sanctioning money that they claim they lost, and yet at the same time they're going ahead, they're absolutely revoking anything to do with the security of that treaty. Yesterday they took 10 of our Navy sailors in hostage custody, finally released them, but they kept our boats, and then they demanded an apology from us. What's going on here?
Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. He's talking about we're getting along, in the world, and, we're using our power for the right reasons and all that. And the truth is that Zeb, he doesn't, even though he said he believes America's a great nation, I don't think he believes in America. I think he believes it needs to be fundamentally changed, like he said in his first inaugural speech, and he wants to see America brought down, and he wants these other world type of government, which he wants to be part of. I don't know if you've seen, by the way, he is politicking to be Secretary of the UN.
Yes.
At some point. And, this is what this guy is all about. They look at America as a bad place that is the problem with the world. And, when he goes down and sits down and negotiate things, he does things to make it look like he's helping people and doing everything. And when the truth is, he's letting people who want to fundamentally destroy this country get their way and have power on us.
I want to ask you something, Dave. Last night, I'm sure you picked up on it in the speech, but would you please tell me, give me an education right here. When you go to the polls, or your employees go to the polls to vote, or myself, anybody, what is unfair about the way we vote at the polls? There was an insinuation last night during that speech that they were going to clean up and regulate the voting process.
Union stuff and liberal stuff. It isn't about the people. It isn't about making it easy on people and all that kind of being fair and all that, which is all their rhetoric again. What this is all about is giving them an opportunity to utilize the system to keep them in power. And the SEIU has done this, the union I fought. They've done it, in the election to get Harry Reid reelected his last time. They've done it in the presidential elections where they sign people up and that aren't really eligible to vote, take them to the polls and tell them who to vote for. And they want to do the same thing but use online, which makes it a lot easier because, and I'll give you an example, and I'm sure I wrote a blog on this a few years ago, and I've got to go pull it out. But there was a lady in California that worked in healthcare, and she had to be a member of the SEIU, and they had a vote online for something out there. And the SEIU actually came to her house, knocked on her door, pushed their way in, made her sit down at her computer and tell her who to vote for on the computer because it was a computer vote. And that's what will happen in this country if we go to that type of system.
You wrote the blog called Public Unions on the Precipice, and I'd like you to tell my audience a little bit about that. I've got a copy of it here. I've highlighted quite a bit of it. You really know about unions, but how dastardly are they right now?
Well, the public unions are not for the American people anymore. They're not for their membership. And as I say in my book, I'm not anti-union. I think unions at one time were very good for this country, and they helped us. You know, we had child labor and other things that business was doing they shouldn't do, but they've lost their way. And now they're in it just for their own survival and their pockets and their political gain. And they're trying to continue what was passed by the Supreme Court 40 years ago almost, where they could force people to pay even if they weren't part of the union dues or fair share fees. And Zeb, that's just wrong, because people need freedom of choice, and that's what the First Amendment guarantees. And that's what this teacher in California has taken this all the way to the Supreme Court against the California Teachers Association. And it appears, based on the testimony for the Supreme Court on Monday, that the justices are in favor of reversing this 1977 decision and giving people their First Amendment rights of freedom of choice and not have to pay union dues.
You bring up an interesting story here about the Supreme Court, Dave, and you sound optimistic that they'll make the right decision. But, I honestly feel that before this year is over, 372 days left of Obama, I think there's going to be some more and new appointments to the Supreme Court, and we are going to be looking at, I think, a stacked deck of liberalism on the Supreme Court, and I certainly hope this thing goes through in the favor of freedom of choice.
Well, they're talking, I heard today that they're talking this decision won't be made till June, and hopefully before any changes are made, it'll get done, and it's the right decision for the American people, because the American people need to be given their freedom of choice and their First Amendment rights. And the concern I have, those behind the scenes, is how much pressure the unions and the president and other far-left political people will put on the Supreme Court to go the other way and support the unions.
Did it mean anything to you last night that not all of the Supreme Court showed up for the State of the Union speech?
I think it kind of tells you where they stand on this president and some things. It's interesting. I think the country is, even though Obama tried to be a little more conciliatory, and he says we need to come together and all that, I think the American people, and I think the polls show it's somewhere between 65 and 70% of the people are tired of his programs and his rhetoric and his measures, and they want to move on. And I think what you saw last night in that case is part of that.
Dave, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about Hillary Clinton. In my lifetime, and I think I'm a little older than you, but not much, I have never seen a person run for political office that has so many ropes dragging behind her that show that she's a fraud, a charlatan, a liar, a crook, all of the above, and still maintain a level of number one for their party's nomination for the presidency. I just can't believe this woman's still staying there.
Well, I know, Zeb, but you look at the thing, and really, who else do they have? They really don't have very many good candidates, and they just look at her because she's a woman. She has the best chance, and I think that's what they're betting on over Bernie Sanders and that. And I think the sad part is, and I think I've maybe mentioned this to you before, I know some Democrats that are very good people, and they're more middle-of-the-road people, and both out of politics and in politics. And it would be nice to see some of those people step up and represent their party. But quite honestly, Zeb, I think they're afraid to, because they know they'll be intimidated and blasted by the far left. And that's a sad state when our country is at that point.
You and I remember this about 2 months ago. We were talking about Joe Biden, and we both thought that Joe Biden is just kind of hanging back, waiting, because now more than ever, it looks like there might be possible indictments against Hillary, and there might be the FBI investigation might turn over a lot of more bad material against her. What about Joe? Do you think all of a sudden he's going to jump up and say, "Here I am"?
I really don't think so, Zeb. Biden is really got a pretty weak personality. I mean, he came out and kind of blasted Hillary the other day that Sanders was more for social justice and income equality and that, and Hillary wasn't. And then he was called on the carpet on it a little bit, and he backed off of it right away and said, "No, I didn't mean it that way. I just meant that Hillary's busy on other things, talking about other things, and hasn't got to that point yet." And being that type of person, I just don't see him wanting to run for president.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you this. Is the mess in the GOP with Rand Paul acting like a spoiled brat? Tomorrow night he said he's going to boycott the pre-debate forum with the smaller amount of numbers, only 4 people. He feels like he should be on the number 1 debate later in the evening. He might pull out. Then we're looking at a new question mark about Ted Cruz. Are we going to sing "O Canada" or the national anthem for our country over his head? What are your thoughts about what's going on in the GOP?
Well, I think it's a sad state of affairs, and as I've told a lot of people, I think we're at the point in this country we don't need more politicians, and I even heard Bill O'Reilly being interviewed this morning, and he said the same thing. He's tired of the political rhetoric and everything that people are saying anymore, and he's over it. Politicians, he wants to talk to people that really know what we need to do to bring back this country, and I think that the Republican Party doesn't want that. They want a politician. They're going to support these people, but I'm hoping that somebody like Trump or I don't think Carly's in the rating anymore, but Trump can see his way through, because we got to do things like close the border and fix this economy if we're going to save this nation.
Now let's talk about that economy for a minute. $19 trillion in debt. I know you're much more of a money manager than I am, but I can't even envision $19 trillion. I can't even envision $1 trillion. Can we ever turn this economic disaster around, or is the train gone off the tracks?
Well, I'm an optimist. I think we can, Zeb. But it's going to take a lot of hard work, and it's going to take some tough decisions, and there's going to be people that don't like it because we're going to have to cut our costs and reduce the size of government and entitlement programs and that. But I think it can be done. It can be done in ways that makes this country prosper, and it gives people a chance to get back to work and make jobs and that. And part of that is closing the borders, because we continue to have people come across the borders taking American jobs and lowering wages across this country. You look at wage rates have been stagnant for several years now, and a big part of that is because of the open borders.
Right. What about the omnibus bill that was bipartisanly passed, and yet there's always some kind of a knife in the back of those that are receiving Social Security or Medicare? What were your thoughts about that bipartisan bill?
I don't know, Zeb. I haven't had a chance to really get down into the details of it, and I think that it's interesting that we do have to have bipartisan support on things, but I'm like a lot of people. I believe that Republicans need to have more backbone and go on the offensive on some of this stuff, and I think they need to uphold some of our long-standing things and Social Security and that, but they got to find other ways to reduce our debt and move forward. And so it'll be interesting to see where this thing goes.
One last thought here, Dave. Last night during the speech, it was intimated and insinuated that college educations, especially 2-year junior college educations, should be free to anybody that wants to go to school. It didn't happen for me. I'm sure you had to pay for it yourself if you didn't have an athletic scholarship. Why in the world should we as taxpayers have to support the whims and wishes about people that want to go to college?
Well, we shouldn't have to, Zeb. I mean, people need to find their own way through college, and I don't believe college is for everybody, by the way. I really believe that, we need to get back to where we have our trade centers and, where we teach people how to do things, because not everybody is meant to be a college person. Some people are better skilled with their hands and things they do with that, and we need to get back to these type of things because that's really the type of things that give people opportunity and jobs in that. And what we really need to be doing out there is talking about people about persistence, that they have to get out there and work hard and persevere and show persistence to improve their way of life and to move up in the economy and throughout their lifetime. And instead, the government wants to give them things that make them sit back and not want to work and be persistent. We have to change that attitude in this country.
Absolutely. Any other topics that you wanted to bring out this morning? I've gone through my list, my laundry list, if you will. Go ahead. Do you have anything else you want to highlight?
No, the only thing in the speech last night is the governor from South Carolina. I thought she did a pretty good speech, but one of the things that I've heard and I'm concerned about with her, I thought some of her talking points were very good and she addressed them pretty good, but she is not about immigration control.
Right.
And I think that is a real problem for this country, as I talked about, with respect to jobs and wages and that, but also security from terrorists and that, and then drugs coming across the border and illegal weapons and stuff like that. And we need, and this is one thing I like about Trump, is that he is adamant that we are going to close the borders. And I think we have to do that. If people want to be part of this country, that's fine. But we have laws. Let's go through our process, and if they can go through our process and become Americans, fine. But we just can't let them cross the border and do what they want.
I also listened to what she said about ISIS and Islam and Muslims in general, and I thought it was almost a acceptance of the problem somewhat. I didn't like what she said on that issue.
Yeah, it was a little, that particular issue, she was a little vague on it, and, again, Zeb, when you go back to these things with immigration and Islam and stuff like that, both parties are pandering to these people for votes. And, Hispanics coming across the border and Islam and stuff like that. They're pandering for votes in the upcoming election. And I think we have to have people, and that's why I'm like Bill O'Reilly. I don't really want to see more politicians. I want to see people that know what we need to do and just don't give us their rhetoric. They work on things that need to be fixed, like the economy and the borders and stuff like that. And I'm tired of people just pandering for votes.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, David. Thank you very much. Dave Bego, a dear friend of mine back in Indianapolis, Indiana. By the way, his Colts didn't make the playoffs. I just thought I'd mention that. My Green Bay Packers did, so he's going to be cheering us on in Arizona this next Saturday. So God bless you, and I'll talk to you next week on Wednesday.
Well, thank you. My last comment is I enjoyed the bottle of wine, and I just want to know where the rest of the case was.
You never give up, do you? God bless you, man. All right, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you very much. Good friend of mine, Dave Bego, Indiana, and a straight shooter. He knows what's going on in the world of politics and also business. Thank you very much. Wow, we got to pay some bills here and then get another guest on. So we're going to tell you a little bit about Let's Ride. Have you been to Let's Ride? Well, let me tell you, they're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. That's right. This is where the fun is sold. They've got all the snowmobiles. They've got all the clothing. They've got all the accessories. They've got motorcycles and motorcycle accessories. They've got all the four-wheelers and all the accessories. My goodness sakes, they've got it all. So you better stop over today, and a great service department too at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Really good folks. By the way, too, if you're over in that area, you need to call first and make an appointment to go to if you need to check on your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. Yep. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call for that appointment, 436-4424. Dedicated and responsive to your needs, and believe me, they can and will help you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, 436-4424. We're going to have our guest on the air in just a moment. Let me get this on one more time here real quick. I've tried to hit this about 3 or 4 times a day. The American Legion Post and American Legion Auxiliary Unit 82 in Eden is going to be hosting a spaghetti dinner fundraiser for the Jim Coleman family. They lost virtually everything in a house fire, and this is going to be on January 23rd from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Snug Bar and Grill in Eden, and the cost is $10, and 100% of the proceeds go to the Colemans. And by the way, in regards to clothing and possible furniture donations and money donations, get a hold of Gene Brown at 731-9018, or go to the City of Hazleton Facebook page, and they'll have what the family needs on that Facebook page. Okay? Got you covered on that. Also want to remind you about our dear friends at Canyonside Irwin Realty. Yep, team of professionals serving you in real estate, serving all of the Magic Valley. Twin Falls, Jerome, Buell, Gooding, Hagerman, and Burley. Canyonside Irwin Realty. You better believe it. Myself, along with Willis and Jill, we kind of make a dynamic threesome, and we'll doggone sure help you on your real estate needs. Call me at 312-2976, Canyonside Irwin Realty. Thank you very much. Let's go to the phone line right now. And I'm going to introduce this gentleman, and I hope I say his name correctly. If not, I want him to correct me. And we say good morning to Mr. Wen Fa. How are you, sir, with the Pacific Legal Foundation?
I'm doing well, Zeb. You said it perfectly. Some people say Wednesday, but my name is, in fact, Wen Fa, so great job on the pronunciation there.
Do you know how worried I was since I got your name in the email? I didn't want to offend you, so thank you. You've made me quit sweating.
No problem.
All right. Hey, tell me a little bit. When I read about this Montana scholarship tax credit story and how people that go to perhaps religious parochial schools being omitted, give us a synopsis of what this story is, because I was outraged when I read this.
Right. It's basically, we're representing in the lawsuit a group of parents and schools who think that the parents think that they should be able to send their kids to any private school in the country, and that's in fact what the Montana legislature allows. The Department of Revenue, who the Montana legislature charged with the task of administering this scholarship program that they passed earlier this May, the Department of Revenue passed discriminatory rules that say that parents can't use money, which is basically private donations, to use these scholarships at any religious school. So basically, in essence, what the Department of Revenue is doing is that they're discriminating on the basis of religion. They're saying that, okay, well, the Montana legislature passed a scholarship program. You can still use your scholarships created from private donations at a private school that's not affiliated with religion, but since we don't like religion, you can't use these scholarships on any school that's either affiliated with religion, has some sort of religious background, or is just accredited by a religious institution. We think that's wrong. We think that not only is the department's rule inconsistent with legislative intent, but it also violates the United States Constitution, whether it's the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, the Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment, or the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. In essence, they all virtually protect against the same act, which is they say that the government can't discriminate, can't dole out benefits and discriminate on the benefits based on religion and non-religion. They can't distinguish between the two.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Department of Revenue is doing here. They're discriminating on the basis of religion. They're saying that non-religious schools should be treated better than religious schools, and we don't think that's right.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, I'm assuming that these parochial or religious schools are accredited and have the same type of, along with the accreditation, the same type of learning, the same type of math, reading, and arithmetic, etc. So why should they, at any point or any juncture, be discriminated against, and who's really leading the charge against having them share in the scholarships?
Right, you're absolutely right. They are accredited. They meet the same quality and health standards that the public schools and the non-religious private schools in Montana have to meet. The department that's leading the charge against the scholarship against the private schools is the Department of Revenue, which is charged by the statute of enforcing the tax credit scholarship program, which is a program that allows parents to use privately funded scholarships at any private school of their choice. Why is the Department of Revenue doing this? Well, we can't really say for sure, but I suspect it's because the Department of Revenue is an arm of the executive branch, not the legislative branch, but they're an arm of the executive branch with different political viewpoints. The executive branch has never supported school choice in Montana, as far as I can tell, and they still don't. So they're basically doing what they couldn't have done in the legislative process. They didn't have the votes in the legislative process to kill it, to kill the school choice, this promising school choice program. So they're essentially doing so through the rulemaking process, which is just the enforcement process.
Let me ask you this question. You know, in a day and an age where everybody yells, screams, and hollers about, oh, I've been discriminated against, and they might throw a lawsuit out, you would think that the Montana Department of, I'm trying to get the right name here, the Department of Revenue, they would back off immediately when you start throwing a discrimination suit out there, but evidently they're going to bow their neck and fight it, huh?
Yeah, they are, and they're going up against our lawsuit, and they're just they don't want students to have the choice to go to promising private schools in the state if they are of a religious nature. So they're saying that individuals who use their own private money to donate to these scholarships, the scholarships can't be used. If they want a tax credit, then the scholarships can't be used at religious schools. So we think that's wrong, and if they, I told them personally at public hearings back in early November that if they go forward with this program, because they were just thinking about adopting it, then they subsequently actually adopted it. I told them in November, I said, if you go through with this program, you're going to face a lawsuit in court. They went through with the program, and now we have sued them in federal court in Montana.
Do you see this, on a personal note, as a lawyer and then also as an interested party in this, do you see this as another blatant attack against Christianity in our United States?
I mean, we're definitely, we see this as lawyers, but we also see this as a part of our broader school choice movement. We think that schools, we're very concerned at the Pacific Legal Foundation, we're very concerned with giving everyone the opportunity to succeed in this country. And we think that many children are not given that opportunity in public schools that are failing, and they don't get any better. We think the way to improve that is to inject competition and choice into the system. When parents have the choice to send their kids to public school or any private school they want, that increases competition, which then increases the quality of every school in the country, whether it's private school or public school. We think that's an outright benefit for children in this country, and that makes us happy if the children have every opportunity to succeed in America, no matter what their socioeconomic background or where they live.
Well, let me ask this part of it. I would imagine that as a litigator against the Montana Department of Revenue, you are really concerned that if they win, this could really set an upside-down precedent all across this country, couldn't it?
Right. You see school choice programs isn't anything new. Like I just said, they're very successful all across the country. They've been successful. I believe Montana is the 43rd state to pass some sort of school choice program, whether it's the traditional private school vouchers or tax credits or just public charter schools. 43 states in the country, that's pretty much all of them. If the Montana Department of Revenue could go forward with what it's doing here, then you have executive branches all over the country who are allies with the teachers union who don't want school choice programs to succeed. So to appease their own personal and political interests, I do fear that they would take school choice away from the students, and that would just send those kids back to the failing public schools where they came from, instead of allowing them the opportunity, if they choose, to go to a more successful private school or even just a more successful public school.
Now, you've jumped in favor of the students and the families and have filed that lawsuit against the Montana Department of Revenue. But now my question is, where does the money come from on both sides to fight this case and go before the courts to see who's going to be the winner? What about Montana Department of Revenue? Who funds them? And by the way, where are you getting your funds from?
Right. Well, the Montana Department of Revenue is using taxpayer money to fight this lawsuit, which, I could quibble about that because most people actually support school choice. They don't support what the Montana Department of Revenue is doing. But the bigger picture is that we're able to fight against the Montana Department of Revenue's religious discrimination because we have so many committed supporters and donors who donate from us from all corners of the United States, so that we can represent our clients free of charge on a pro bono basis, so we can really make an impact in courthouses across the United States. We've been fighting for school choice in states like Pennsylvania and North Carolina and California and now in Montana. And it's through the generous donations and generous tax-deductible donations of our donors that we're able to litigate on behalf of educational freedom all across the United States.
I've had many, many guests on from the Pacific Legal Foundation on various stories, and I'm very impressed with all of you. But give us a little background on the Pacific Legal Foundation itself. I mean, the inception, when did it begin, how big is it, how can people get a hold of you in case they want your help? Give us that background.
Right. So we were founded in the 1970s with, staffers from the Reagan, when Reagan was governor of California, and that's why we're headquartered in Sacramento. We were the oldest and most experienced public interest foundation of our kind, which is a public interest foundation that litigates on behalf of individual liberty through litigating on issues of property rights, sensible balance between environmental regulations and businesses, individual rights, which is our litigation for school choice and also for a colorblind constitution, and economic liberty. So we're able to do that, as I said earlier, through the generous contributions of our donors, and people can find more about our litigation as well as contact us at pacificlegal.org, and they can also read about our cases on our blog at blog.pacificlegal.org. And then, of course, we do radio shows and television shows and speeches all across the United States, too. So they can see that on our Speakers Bureau's calendar, and we hope to see our supporters or just people who are interested in our litigation at one of our speaking events sometime in the future.
Wen, I want to ask you one last question in the time remaining, and this has nothing to do with this case, but I just want your viewpoint on this. Are you as concerned as me and most all of my listeners that this administration has done more to start snipping at the value of our Constitution and override really what powers they have? Are you concerned about what's going on?
Right. Well, it's important to know at the outset that that I don't take a political position, and my organization as a nonprofit, we don't, and we're not allowed to take a political position on anything, and we don't have a political position on this. But we are going to litigate against overreaching conduct. That's our mission, to litigate against overreaching government conduct whenever any government oversteps their bounds. In my case, in the case that I just spoke to you about, it's the Montana Department of Revenue that's outstepping its bounds, rather. Mm-hmm. And in other cases, we have, I believe right now, the only case pending before the Supreme Court that would get rid of Obamacare in its entirety, and that's our Origination Clause lawsuit in Sissel versus HHS, which says that since Obamacare is a bill for raising revenue, it must originate in the House, which it did not. It originated in the Senate. The Constitution forbids that kind of action, and if the Supreme Court takes up our case and rules in our favor, then Obamacare would be no more. So we are definitely against government outreaching the bounds and limits of the Constitution. We enforce the Constitution on government actors. That's what we do, and we're very proud to do it.
That was very well stated, and I certainly hope you'll consent to coming back on the program. Mr. Wen Fa with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Sir, I say this and I mean it. God bless, and come back again in the future. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, sir. Very interesting individual, very nice man, and laid it out in terms even I could understand. And so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Calls are welcome. I am absolutely wide open for the next 11 minutes. Give me a jingle. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. But preceding your phone call, I'm going to do the weather forecast. And the weather is brought to you by Mountain Transmissions. Nothing worse than going out and starting your vehicle, putting it in gear, and you don't go anywhere. Transmission trouble, huh? Well, Mountain Transmissions. They can repair and rebuild, and they know all about transmissions in all makes and models. And they've got what they call now a transmission tune-up special for just $89.95. You check it out. More than 30 years experience at 504 East Main in Burley. Rick and the rest of the crew, call them on the landline, 678-9110. That's Mountain Transmissions. And we'll be back right after Gina gives us the weather.
Well, hopefully you're prepared for some more snow showers for today, because that is a possibility. About a 30% chance this afternoon. Slightly breezy winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 38, night low of 28. Tomorrow, going to be a day of reprieve, but the winds will be picking up out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour. Partly cloudy, high of 34 with an overnight low of 28. Morning snow showers expected for Friday, high of 35. And then rain and snow showers mixed for Saturday with a high of 38. Yesterday's high was 34 and the overnight low was 15. That's your weather for Zeb Durant.
Oh, great job. Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you by Mountain Transmissions. And the number, 678-9110 to call for an appointment at 504 East Main in Burley, Mountain Transmissions. Thank you very much. Your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and we will talk about anything you want to talk about. I just feel like, I'll just lean back here in the chair, and I'll kind of put my feet up on the desk, and I'll wait for you to call and pick a subject this morning. Let's throw some things at you. Did you see the speech last night? What did you think of it? And the hangers-on. Kiltman is up here last night with his lovely wife, Lori, and we were talking about this subject. When they go and open the door, and the gentleman says, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States of America. Did you ever notice that the people in those aisle seats, they are the most glory-seeking people you have ever seen. Now, if you could get a video of the people that were in those seats last night on the aisle, bending over and fawning all over the president like they knew him, like he was their best buddy, slapping him on the back, way to go, Barack, yes, sir, Mr. President. Look at the previous films and pictures of previous State of the Union messages, and you will find the same people in the same seats. They get there sometimes as early as 3 and 4 hours beforehand and just sit and wait to have those particular seats so that they can be photographed or videoed or shot on the network news, glad-handing or patting the president on the back. And then you will find a lot of those same pictures being used for promotional aspects when they run for re-election. Ay, 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 ay. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'd just like to say I have a lot of hope on this coming election because I have family members and stuff that live in California, and they've been drinking that Kool-Aid for a long time, and they're talking about Trump and stuff like I've never seen since Reagan. I know you keep hearing that, but I've talked to my family out there, and we don't talk very much. We've got different opinions on things, but, during the holidays you kind of connect with people, and they're just excited, and I can't believe what's going on.
Let me ask you a question, sir. What part of California?
Southern California, Riverside.
Okay. Now, I have said many, many times on this program, and I've got a lot of dear friends down there in California, a lot of friends that are in the rodeo business, the ranching business, and in the farming business. And I have stated, and I want you to tell me if I'm wrong, that if you get with outside the city limits of L.A. and outside the city limits of Frisco or Sacramento, you are going to find some really good grassroots people that know what's going on and what should go on. And everybody condemns California, but that's a misnomer. I think there's really some good redneck people down there.
There is, and they're all out there, and I used to mess around and ride a little bareback out there, and old Cotton Rosser, I don't know if you know who he is, but he used to be the stock contractor around there a lot.
I've worked for every major stock producer in the country, and probably announced at a lot of the rodeos that you might have been at, like Bakersfield and Clovis and many, many more.
Yeah, I rode a lot of amateur. I wasn't any good at it. It just hurt a lot, but it was fun at times. But out in Grass Valley and over in Reno area, I rode some over there. But yeah, you're right. Outside of the cities, there's people that are seeing straight, and I'm just really amazed and really happy to see that a lot of people are dumping the Kool-Aid down the drain, if you know what I mean.
Well, let me ask you this question. And right now, the San Joaquin Valley of California is under a lot of duress because of government regulations on the water and environmental protections and everything. I don't know how a farmer can even possibly make a living down there. What are the general thoughts of the people down there? They must be outraged and ready to go to a riot against all this idiocy, whether it's over that little bitty tiny 1-inch long fish or whatever the situation. I mean, they have really been hurt down there in California.
Well, I think that's everywhere. It hurts more there. That major waterway that hauls their water from north to south down there, it doesn't make any sense to me. They put concrete sides on it and left the bottom of it sand, so guess what happens to the water?
Yeah.
But I worked a cow camp down in southern Idaho, and there was a little bitty fish down there, and they fenced out one of our major water sources down there because of a stupid little fish. The BLM did it, and the government regulations and stuff, but they're the ones that came out and put the fence up. That fence kept falling down because of those elk out there, I guess what it was. It couldn't have been my catch rope.
There you go. Hey, listen, one last thought here, back to Donald Trump again. Donald Trump, when he first threw his hat in the ring, everybody thought, oh, yeah, this is going to be just show and go. He's just a showman for himself, etc. What do you hear from the people in California? Do they honestly believe that this man can win, and do they think he'd be really a good president?
Well, according to my family members and stuff, they're excited about it. Him creating. They're tired of the political correctness and glad to see someone out there that's not afraid to call people what they are. And I think he's the only one that's going to step up and really tell Hillary and call her on what she is. And call Bill for what he was. He wants to get out there on our campaign trail with her. And they're excited about that, and they think that he's going to create a lot of jobs and et cetera, and get rid of some of that other stuff.
Would it be fair to say that outside of your particular family, that that's a general feeling for a lot of the areas down there in California?
I would hope so, and I asked them if they were talking. They said there was a lot of people out there that were leaning in that direction. I think if it's not Donald Trump, that other people are going to have trouble with Hillary. I mean, she lies like a rug, and deceitful, and I'm sure there's murder in their background if you go back and look into some of the things that happened in Arkansas.
I really appreciate your call this morning, and I say thank you very much for that perspective. God bless you, and call again, okay?
Okay, right back at you.
All right, thank you very much. The innuendo that he made there at the end of that conversation about the possible illegalities and the possible, using the terminology murders. He's not the only one that has brought that up. There have been a lot of stories written about certain people that have met their demise and underneath rather shady circumstances. Now, let me clarify that I always say that's speculation, and until there's proof, you can't lay the fault or the blame at somebody and hold it to them until it's proven. However, there are a lot of illegalities that have been brought up and more that are coming against that Clinton dynasty that started in Arkansas. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Zeb, thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I want everybody to just think and know that a dead skunk would be better than what we've got now for a president.
I don't think you're being fair to skunks.
I don't either, but I enjoyed that last gentleman. He told a lot of good stuff, just like it is.
All right, well, Bob.
Have a good day.
All right.
We'll talk to you later.
You bet. God bless. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Be still my bleeding heart. Look who just walked into the station studio. My goodness, alive and well. All 6'9.5" of him, 370 pounds. Kelton Hatch is here. By gosh, good to see you. Brand new cap. Never brings me one. Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. They know guns. From Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, and all the ammo. Believe me, these folks really know all about firearms and all the accessories. Since 1936, been in the historic Old Town location. And by the way, too, for the reloaders, they've got all the hard-to-find powder right now at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. I'll quickly turn on his mic. You're early this morning.
I'm usually early unless turkeys get out.
Yeah, I know. And why, are you cold or something in my studio? I've got the heat up on practically 75.
I know that it feels like a rest home.
Yeah, well, it is. I can't argue that. Smart Alec. You're going to reach my age someday.
Someday. Maybe unless my wife kills me.
Getting a little, well, that's a possibility if you keep burning down all the trees.
Well, that's true.
I went by
There's other issues, but... Yeah.
Other issues? Oh, really? We have a quick call. 20 seconds, caller. Real fast. Go.
I just wanted to make a comment about the college tuition.
Yes, go ahead real quick.
Our tuitions, but we're now at the lower end of middle class. All four of my children went to college and graduated. And if they could get help paying off the loans that they had to take out, I think it would be great, because they're left with big loans.
Well, and there again, I'm gonna sound really crude when I say this back to you, but if you're going to take out big loans for an education, that's not my worry as a taxpayer. It's not my responsibility or anybody's to try to foot the bill.
And I agree with you on that, but I think there should be some kind of program that can help the ones that really are the ones that are out there trying to make an honest living that aren't up in the middle class area anymore.
I really appreciate your call. Would you do me a favor? I've got to run to the news right now, ma'am. I'm running late, but I want you to call me tomorrow in the first hour, and you and I will discuss this again. And I appreciate your call. God bless you. Thank you. Okay. You've been listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure you hear everything. Call Mount Harrison Audiology, 312-0957 for an appointment. Here's the CBS News. Welcome to the Zeb at the Ranch exercise class. And leading our exercises this morning is the big boy, Kelton Hatch with the Fish and Game. We'll have him on momentarily. Don't forget, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Let's take a look and see. You know, it's hard to be here all by yourself. The telephone's ringing, and I can't take that right now. Thank you. And talk about the Chadwick Sports Grill. 139 West Main in Burley. Today, crispy Hawaiian chicken with pineapple salsa, served with choice of side, veggies, and super. Now, that sounds really good, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm telling you, crispy Hawaiian chicken with pineapple salsa.
See, that's my kind of exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Plate,
elbow to mouth. There we go. The Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. It sounds really good to me. We are blessed with the presence. Fortunately, some turkey didn't disrupt everything. Kelton Hatch with the Idaho Fish and Game. How are you?
You know, fit as a fiddle. Just loving this. You know, it's been a little cold, but it's been nice to have winter again. I'm just hoping that we knock down some bugs and some critters like that we haven't had winter for several years.
Have you been up on top, on the hill?
I've been in the mountains almost every weekend somewhere.
Really?
A few days during the week. But
what's the snowpack like?
You know, we've actually up here at Magic, it looks like the highest in the state right now.
I think they said highest in the state?
It's actually the ski report the other day had Magic as the highest snow depth. The most snow in the area,
really?
More than Sun Valley, even more than Pomerelle, and that's really a anomaly because Pomerelle usually gets pounded.
Gee, it's too bad we're suffering from climate change.
Yeah. But you know, we got hit with a hard band of snow all the way out through the Diamond A over to the Owyhees, and it's just that one little narrow band. It's like you're going along and you go from 6 inches to 3 feet in just like 2 feet.
What about the wildlife up there? Is the winter being really quote unquote too hard on them?
You know, the beauty of the South Hills is you've got the valley here, and you've got a good drop off. We're 4,000 foot down here, and so those animals, as long as they can escape before the snow gets too deep, they've got great winter range down here on the front land.
Really?
You know, other places aren't faring as, you know. This isn't a bad winter. We're not even at 100% precip right now. It's just colder. We haven't had winter in 8 years.
Yeah.
7 or 8 years, you know. We get a cold snap or things like this, but no, the deer are looking in good condition. We're not going to have the fawn survival that we had last year and the year before.
You had a very high percentage last year, didn't you?
Like 95%.
So how much do you anticipate with a snowpack like this it might drop off?
I think we'll be back in that, 50 to 60 fawns per
drop off that much?
Well, but that sounds like a lot, but that's still a growing population of deer.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you can keep it somewhere in that range. If you drop much, in the 40s and stuff like that, 40 fawns per 100 does and stuff, you still have a growing. It's just not growing.
What
that
about
much.
the elk and the moose?
Elk and the moose. It's hard to kill elk and moose.
Even the young ones?
Even the young ones, because the young ones are bigger than most of your adult deer. You know, you look at a yearling calf elk that's standing there at 300 pounds. Or a calf from that's almost a year old. You know, they're probably 9-10 months old now.
Yeah.
And they're 300 plus pounds, and so I mean they're nearly as big. I mean, they're as big as a deer.
Are they, the moose, the elk, and the deer, all fighting for the same nutrition diet up there?
No, not necessarily. Elk can eat just about anything, and moose, deer are the tough ones. Deer have their browsers.
Small one on the totem pole,
yeah,
right?
They take a more rigorous, higher protein diet than the rest of the critters out there just to be able to survive. And they can be out-competed by elk. We've got a bunch of elk that are hitting haystacks all around the area. Our landowner sportsman's coordinator has been running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Really?
Oh, yeah, from Fairfield to Arco to all along the front down here. A lot of these dairies and farmers down here are getting elk and deer. And
what can they do?
call us and we'll try to get. We've got some hazers that we'll hire just to go push elk and deer out of their haystacks and stack yards. We offer Tensar, which is a 12-foot. Kind of like it's a plastic snow fence type stuff.
I get
it's
you.
Tensar, and we'll wrap the haystacks in that. We'll drop that off and let landowners wrap their haystacks in that. And if it's a continuous issue for year after year after year, and people have permanent stack yards, we can go in there and build permanent stack yards. Not right now, but that's something that we'll have to do in the summer. But no, we're really John has done a fabulous job just getting out and talking to everybody, and I mean he's burning the candle at both ends.
Well, I would imagine with all this snow and the look for a really good foliage come spring, boy, things are going to be fat and sassy.
Yeah, they will be, and if we, it's. We need the precip. We need the precip. I could do without the cold.
Picky.
I know, but it was last week was chilly.
No,
but,
wait a minute.
But
let's redefine your words. It was doggone cold.
But I bird hunted both Friday and Saturday.
You're kidding? When it was 13 below?
It was 16 when I left the house.
Hey.
But the thing is when you get up in the hills and the sun's shining.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're walking, and you're as large a person as I am. When you're walking, that creates a lot of heat.
You ought to do it on crutches. You really sweat.
You do.
Where's Zeb? Well, he's buried in 3 feet of snow.
No, yeah, he melted a hole in it. But it's it's gorgeous. It's just nice. As long as we don't get the wind, that's what gets you cold.
Now, you're involved right now. Is now the time of the year that you're trapping these deer?
We are. We've got a lot of ships up. We'll be actually just
a lot of what?
Ships, helicopters.
Oh,
they call them.
Be very articulate on this program.
Okay,
thank you.
Yeah,
helicopter.
But we'll have helicopters up. We've been net gunning.
Now, explain what that means.
What net gunning is you have a person that's in a harness to hold them to the ship, because what they'll do is they'll stand on one of the skids that the helicopter lands on.
Okay, this is a Forest Service, Fish and Game representative.
Bite your tongue.
I'm sorry I said that. I knew you were going to correct me, and I needed that. And he stands on the skid of the helicopter.
And he'll have a shoulder, waist, body harness.
Is he good friends with the person that buckled him in?
I hope so.
So do I.
I would double check the buckles, regardless of how good a friend it was. And then they hang out the door. They usually take the door off the helicopter so that they can stand on the skid, and they lay out, and then the helicopter flies over the top of the deer or the elk.
Right.
And they have a 4-barreled gun.
4 barrels.
4 barrels, and you kind of aim them so that and you put a weight in each of the barrels that is attached to the net. And then you have I think it's a 308 cartridge that you put into the gun.
I'm starting to think a lot of things could go wrong here.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
And they hang out and they fly up over the back of the elk or deer. They shoot it.
How high above the ground are they at this point?
Well, you're going about 25, 30 miles an hour, between 6 to 12 feet probably.
Off the ground.
Leaning
out of a very good helicopter.
Hanging as far as you can so that you don't get the net in the rotors.
Okay, so...
I hadn't thought of that one. That's where the fear of this is, that the net hangs up on something and gets in the tail rotor or in your main rotor. So they're hanging out.
Boy, I tell you get a net in your rotor and you're in bad shape.
You're down. The funny thing, an airplane glides to a landing. It may glide fast. A helicopter becomes a stone. It just falls.
So the guy that's doing this, and now absolutely he's one of the highest paid in the Fish and Game, right?
Not.
He's not?
No.
He ought to be.
He ought to be. Yeah, there ought to be. We don't have any of that type of...
Have you ever done this?
I haven't. I'm not...
You're too big to be leaning out of a helicopter.
Tip the ship over.
Tip it right on its side.
Yeah, we chop them up.
No, do you get a small guy to do this?
Oh, no, we have fairly big helicopters. Then we'll do it like that net gun. The other way we do it is we'll drive net, and that's when we go up and we put 600 or 800 foot nets up, and we hook them together, and then we make different patterns.
Now, what about the recoil of the gun, though? I mean, is there enough that all of a sudden, bam, and it might all of a sudden...
Well, you're shooting 4 1-pound weights out of it. Yeah, you got fairly substantial recoil. And so,
wow.
But, they'll shoot. It's really quick, and it's our most cost-efficient way to trap animals animals unless we're doing a large number.
Now, I'm seeing some things flash through my mind, like he misses and hits a pine tree while you're going along in a helicopter. What do you do then?
The net detaches from the gun when you shoot it.
Hopefully.
Well, yeah. It just lands over the animal. The animal becomes entangled, falls to the ground.
And at that turn, you land.
We have a mugger ship.
A mugger what?
A mugger ship.
Oh, I hope the people at home heard you correctly. Anyway, go ahead.
And they come along, and then you have two.
A mugger ship
is kind of
loaded with individuals that jump out of a helicopter and go over, and like in a wild cow riding, you need muggers.
You need muggers.
And they take the animal down.
Take the net off of it, put the radio collar on it, draw blood, take weights, check body type.
And they are from the mugger ship.
They're from the mugger ship. Yeah, well, thanks.
You're flying this plane by yourself. Go ahead.
Hey, you're doing a good job.
I can tell.
You're trying to be careful with the FCC.
Oh, am I ever? I love my job.
You love your job, and
so how many people are on the mugging crew?
Usually you'll have four. Because
big ex-bulldoggers.
No, actually just really physically fit guys and gals because they have to jump out in 2 or 3 foot.
Now they jump. Wait a minute, they're jumping out without any means of.
Well, they hover. 3 to 4 foot off the ground, and then they just
with the rotors going above their head.
Well, yeah, that's why they're
driving them down to the earth.
Well, they jump out, and then you crouch down, and then the ship pulls off, and then you run over to your animal. And sometimes
you make it sound way too simple.
You know, it is and it isn't because it just depends. Because sometimes the net isn't perfectly over the animal, and the animal can take off
and he's going to probably kick you or whatever.
Oh no! When you're wait until you're doing this to elk. When you get a cow elk in one of these nets and it's hanging around her neck and 1 foot, and then you have to take them off their feet, get them down, take the net off of them. It's a handful.
For 4 guys.
Well, we actually do that with 3. The elk will. Out of the mugger ship, we'll have 6 people, and 3 will jump out on this elk. Then the gunner will fly in and gun another elk, and then they'll drop those guys off. And you'd better be done with yours so that you can jump back in the ship because the gunner will be out trying to find other elk.
Okay, now when you get these elk subdued, okay, we're talking what about how much? 900 pounds?
Oh, 6.
6. Okay,
but you got to realize this is an athlete. They're not. I mean, they're running through the hills. You know, I mean, they're big, strong animals.
What kind of a hold or holds do you put on an elk to subdue it with just 3 guys?
Well, usually you knock them off their feet.
That would be suggested, yes.
It's a lot easier. You take a blindfold, you put it over their eyes. It's usually like a...
Sounds easy so far.
Yeah, you take like a stocking cap and cut the top of it out or do the same so you can just pull that nice flexible cap over their eyes.
Yeah, you want to keep them warm while you're doing this.
Well, it's just to cover their eyes so they... And once you get their eyes covered, they don't kick quite as... Well, no, you don't, I'm lying. They'll kick you just as hard. They just don't wrestle you as much. Then you get them on their side... one person on their neck, another person on their hind quarters.
Oh, the guy that's got that duty is not being paid enough.
No, and then we take hobbles. And we hobble them.
Okay.
And usually 2 pair of hobbles, and then we tie them together in the middle.
Okay.
And then we go to town. You put one person and draw blood, put radio color, put
electronic tracking device.
Electronic tracking device. Put an ear tag in the animal.
Wow.
So usually double ear tags so that we know when it's harvested, where it was harvested, where we had trapped it at. The radio color will work for 3 to 5 years. Sometimes we'll put.
How long does this take on a per animal basis?
For a good crew, 10 minutes.
You're kidding me.
No, you have to work pretty quick because you don't want to overstress the animal. You want to get it. I mean, it's fairly stressful, but our goal is to get in and get out as quick as we can.
Okay, now the helicopter that carries the muggers in the mugger ship. They drop another crew.
That's for Star Wars mugger ship.
Yeah, they drop another crew, and then they go back and pick up the first crew.
Yep,
and it's kind of a domino theory.
It is. It just keeps going back and forth.
I see.
And then,
and you use the same nets, or how do you reload the guns?
Well, the muggers should be picking up usually the gunship has
the mugger ship.
The gunship.
Oh, the gunship.
The gunship.
I know we're going to mess this up.
just follow. The gunship will have quite a few nets in it. And so once they run out of nets and they land, then the muggers have been collecting all the nets off the elk or deer or whatever we're shooting or netting, and then they'll take them back, and we have to refold them. You have to straighten them all.
You have to be refolded a certain way and everything, like a parachute, right?
Well, not like a parachute, but you have to get them all entangled. They can, believe it or not, a 10 by 10 net can get really tangled up inside itself.
Oh, no, I believe it.
It's like
But what about the weights and everything? I mean, man, that sounds like an intricate procedure to get that folded correctly.
Well, you just make sure the weight. Yeah, you get four. You try to get one person on each corner.
A guy'd look really foolish shooting the net and having it come back on him.
Yeah. Well, or not opening up, just staying in a tight ball or something like that.
Well, once you knock them out, I mean, you could drop down, couldn't you? Have you ever taken videos of this?
That's the tough part with this, is because we're so limited on space on helicopters.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff. I've got some photos and a little short video, but we just don't have the space to be able to. Hopefully, we can get somebody with a GoPro or something.
And the pilot's got to be an exceptionally talented pilot.
Well, these guys are, and a lot of them are past. Armed forces type pilots that have been in some pretty sketchy situations already. And so...
now, do they have somebody in the co-pilot seat that is basically saying, look out for this tree over here or whatever?
No.
Usually, they do it all on their own?
Usually you got a pilot and the gunner in one ship.
Wow.
And then it just depends on how they set it up on that day. Sometimes they'll actually put the muggers in the gunship. It just depends on how many animals we're doing. And the other way that's actually like we typically do closer to here, if we do larger amounts of animals, if we're trying to get 25 or 30 colors, we use a drive net. And that's when we put the nets up on the side hill, and then the helicopter...
and you drive them into them.
Yeah, the helicopter drives... And, we can get 8 animals in the nets at a time, and then we'll have 4 people working collars, and sometimes we'll get 10, and everybody's got a deer, and you're holding on to it. I would rather do the net gunning for elk, because when you get a whole herd of elk in a net, you talk about a rodeo without a rope.
No, I can't even imagine that.
You think wild cow milking's wild.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you're battling not only the elk, but I'm sure the terrain isn't exactly flat and level either.
No, you're usually standing, because you try to drive them into a ravine because they naturally want to run into a ravine. Yeah. So typically on a 30-degree slope in the rocks and the trees. And so, you slide to the bottom. And
what is a typical day, though? You try to start probably, at daylight?
Yeah, you want to have your nets up. If you're doing drive nets, we try to have the nets up early in the morning.
And then end at what time? I mean, man, that's a tiring job.
It just depends on how many animals and how close. We try to find enough. Like was on the end of Jim Sage on the south end down by the Narrows last week. Happened really quick.
Really,
been a lot of deer down there, and so we had a good crew and was able to get a lot of animals collared quick. And been over in Unit 45. A lot of deer are pushed down low this year. They're not spread out like they have been. We couldn't even collar last year or get counts because we had so little snow. We had deer in summer range all winter.
Really?
And so this year's been a good year. And it's people wonder, well, why are you doing all this? Well, there's several reasons. One is to get body type, body condition, weights of fawns, to be able to do our DNA stuff on the blood samples. And then with these radio collars, we track them and find what is killing these, whether it's, traffic accidents or lions or wolves.
How does it tell you that?
Usually, on some of the areas, we'll have a technician go out and check these colored animals every day or every other day, and they'll just make sure they're alive. Others, we have GPS tracker collars on them so that we can actually follow migrations to see how far they're going. And this stuff is very critical. It's where, I wish we had had it 30, 40, 50 years ago when people were building more of the roads around here, because we found that, 84 going to Utah is a major migrational corridor. We had a good idea, but we didn't understand how many millions or thousands of deer crossed it, and we could have put more tunnels and things like that. But this is just it's data that we're trying to collect so that we can ensure the future mule deer.
You know, I had a story, and I wanted to ask you about it and question you about it, and I'm sure you've always been straightforward and honest on this program. I read a story someplace in the last couple of weeks that there was some semblance of a lawsuit against the Fish and Game for trying to land a helicopter, in
the Frank Church
to do basically the same animal study, isn't it?
Yeah, it came out.
Talk directly into
Fortunately, we had the animals. We've had lawsuits on this. We've been trying to do this, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years, and we was able to get in there this year, and then like 2 days after we got going, then the lawsuit was filed, and we were done.
Let me ask you this.
And so we didn't even land in there.
Yeah.
What we was doing is a hover jumps where.
What is the big beef, Kelton? I don't understand this.
Well, the wilderness area, and I'm not up to date, and I really don't want to comment on too much, but their main concern, you can't use a chainsaw in the wilderness.
Well,
you're not supposed to have any type of motorized vehicles and things.
If I gave you a scenario, can you at least give me an answer on this?
I'll try.
What would happen if there was an emergency situation and a hunter needed to be life-flighted or something like that? Would the rules and the laws still apply, or would they relax those?
I really don't know on that, Zeb. I do think that they've landed in there before for hunters, but I can't say for sure.
Isn't a human life worth more than an environmental lawsuit? I know you can't. I'm sorry.
And I really don't know on that. I've heard of certain cases, and they've got landing strips in there and stuff like that. I don't know. There's one thing. I love wilderness. I love the fact that for me, there's a place out there that. If you want to, I took our Boy Scouts in there on a 50-miler this year into the Frank Church, and it was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, but the thing I'm getting at is you're not doing anything to desecrate the wilderness in an emergency situation. And besides that, I thought, tell me if I'm wrong, when I read the article, that it was for the benefit of finding out where in the world all the elk are going and what's killing them.
And that's exactly it. And that's what we're trying to do, is we want to monitor, we want to have documentation on what's going on with the elk in the Frank Church. We've been trying to do this study. We've been trying to do a lot of things back there, for several years. I'm just glad we've got radio collars in there now so that we can see what's going on. We can actually kind of get an idea on how many of them are, what's taking them all. We have a pretty good idea, but it'll give us better documentation on it.
By the way, folks, Kelton voiced his real sincere concerns last month when he was here. He said, I didn't get very many phone calls, so please, in this next half hour, call him and soothe him and let him know that he's still appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and we'll have more with a gentleman that jumped off the mugger ship in the next half hour. Stay tuned.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, welcome back to the number one mugger ship for the fishing game. You got your problems over there. You might tell the audience what you're so concerned about. Here you are, a great big 6'6" scaredy cat of a little bitty mini Aussie dog. What's the matter with you?
You're here, otherwise I wouldn't be. And that dog would be.
She took a couple of nips at you.
Well, she got me on the hawk, that last one.
Did it get through the pants and into the flesh?
Yeah, through the socks and the pants.
Really?
So.
How bad are you wounded?
Yeah, I'll live.
You're not going to sue, are you?
No.
Okay, good. Welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch with the Fish and Game Officer. Are you an officer, official, or what?
I'm not.
What are you?
I'm a PR person.
A PR person?
Yeah, I'm communications.
Okay, and you're the one...
I'm trying to communicate here.
Well, let's keep continuing. Try for success.
Okay.
Kelton Hatch, Idaho Fish and Game, and we want to go back a little bit more on wintering of wildlife. Did you have some other information on that?
I just want to kick this out here. Be cautious when you're out and about. A lot of deer on the roads in the evenings. I've been looking at deer in places that I haven't seen them in the. I've only been here. I'm a short timer. I've been here 13 years.
Yeah.
And
well, you're Idahoan.
I'm an Idahoan. I've been here all my life.
From over where the rich people live.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. We're the ones that are so poor we couldn't afford to move out of that cold country. You know, we're whining about it being cool over here. My little brother was at 38 below the day that we was at 16.
Is that over by Franklin County?
It's by Soda Springs.
Soda Springs, yeah, okay.
A little bit chillier over there.
Yeah, but, you know, just use common sense out there on the highways, byways, and back roads. A lot of deer coming down out of the hills.
Well, it was. It's, my wife gave me the old flop arm, you know, how when you're driving down the road and your kid's in the front seat, and she throws the arm across your chest when she's locking up the brakes.
Yep.
6 o'clock at night on Falls.
On Falls?
Heard a deer crossing the road, you know.
Really?
I like being chauffeured.
I see.
No, I'm scary.
Did she take you to the ER to make sure your heart was still beating properly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, after she hit me, it'd been almost better to hit the deer or hit the dash or something. But no, but there's a lot of deer there, almost on every one of these country roads. I mean, I run quite a bit down this Highway 30 going to Burley and
right.
From over there in Kimberly area. Deer there all the time.
Yeah.
You know, pronghorn. We're getting a lot of elk up in the Wood River Valley. We're killing a couple of elk a week up there right now.
With vehicles?
With vehicles.
Ooh.
And so that leaves a mark.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you hit those elk. And so just be cautious. Look for the eye glint. We're having deer show up. I mean, we got a field by our house that typically we don't have a lot of deer in. The other night there was over 60 head in it. But
is that to the south of you or the north of you?
South.
Over on the golf course?
Or just, yeah, well, a little bit further to the east towards us, about a mile, but there's some of those hay fields over there.
And you can see them a lot easier because you burn down your trees.
I can. And this was at night, about a mile from my house.
Caller, good morning. You made Kelton feel good. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm calling not concerning the wildlife, and I'm calling concerning the overfishing at Oakley Reservoir. It's just way overfished for the amount of fish that's there. I would hope they'd put a 2-fish limit on it and even close the ice fishing for a year, but that's not going to happen apparently. So I'm just wondering what they're going to do to supplement the fish.
Can I have him answer that over the air instead of the telephone, please?
I would appreciate that.
All right, sir. Go ahead.
Appreciate the call. You know, that's what we're really starting to run into. There's a lot of issues like this with people because Idaho's growing so fast. I think it's the number 1 growing state in the country right now. We're just getting more and more and more people. The Magic Valley's growing like crazy, and more people are utilizing these resources. You know, I really don't know what Doug McGargle is our fisheries manager over in the Jerome office.
Yeah, he's supposed to take me fishing 8 years ago.
Yeah, you scare him, I think.
Yeah, I do.
Ruby does too. Yeah. But probably the best bet on that is call the regional office at 324-4359, 324-4359. Talk to those guys over there. Voice your concerns so they know what's going on, and it'll help us put it more on the radar and stuff. I know that we've got a lot of fish that we've been out planting. We're actually trying a new program where we're planting larger fish, hoping to get a higher return to krill on these. Oakley has really turned on a few years ago, and it has become a major location for people all over the region. I mean, we've got people out there from Twin Falls and Soda Springs and
I just want to jump in here and say something because I goofed. I had a call, and I don't think it was this gentleman, but I had a call on Monday, and I had said that we were going to have the Fish and Game report today, and that person that called me said, please ask them, the Fish and Game, about overfishing at Oakley Reservoir. And so I appreciate the caller calling in, and there was also some other concerns.
Yeah. You know, let me find out a little bit more information on that. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a very good answer. I know I'm not telling you what you want to hear, definitely. But that is one of the things we're looking at on all our regs, just because of the price of feed and the price of fish and the price of just doing business, is possibly starting to limit some of these reservoirs. It's been a thing that we've had 6-fish limit for a long time, and I really think we're getting to the time that we may have to start discussing this in earnest to be able to keep the quality of fishing up.
Yeah.
I know, like Chesterfield Reservoir, this started happening, and it took about 5 years for them to finally change that over to where it was just a 2-fish limit.
But it takes public input, and so we thank that man for calling.
You bet it does. It takes public input, and we do appreciate his call.
You know, I want to mention that the next topic on our discussion sheet says ice fishing. And for those of us that do not find any solace or fun to sit out on the ice and wait and hope that a little bitty perch swims by and bites my hook, and McGargle wanted to take me ice fishing, what is the status of ice, per se?
You know, and I don't know for sure on all the area reservoirs. It has been really good.
Well, at 13 below, it oughta.
Yeah, and it makes it pretty. It'll even hold me up.
What's safe?
Well,
no.
They say 2 inches.
I don't think so.
Well, not for me. I'm not walking out there with less than 6.
For some reason, I've got a picture of you in my mind's eye at 6'9.5", going out there and taking both feet, jumping up in the air and saying, push! Oh, it's not 2 inches yet.
No, it's not. No, I actually, those tamping rods that you use for packing your posts, big heavy metal rod, sounds really weird because you got a whole bucket full of fishing gear and whatever else you're taking out there. I got that big old 30-pound metal pole in my hand, tapping the ice in front of me. Because if it goes into the ice, I know it's not that little with the point on the end, it's old spud hole. If it goes through the ice, I turn around and go back and go home.
What is the common sense, if any, and I'm from Wisconsin, and Lake Kushkonong, a huge lake that is only about 3 miles from where my dad's farm was, is the minute you get a little bit of ice on that lake, I mean, people were driving $50,000 and $60,000 pickups out there and putting up their ice shanties and everything, and then, oops, all of a sudden you read in the paper, well, this shanty went down at 3 o'clock yesterday, and so Bert Smith lost his brand new pickup. I mean, what's the matter with these people?
It's just people like getting out. And it's
what, do they want to play the Titanic for fun?
I don't know. But, I don't ice fish a lot.
It scares me.
But if it's got good ice on it can be really fun and be really rewarding.
What is the sanity, though, of going out on the ice, and it's so cold, your teeth are chattering, you can't hardly walk because you got so many clothes on and 10 pairs of socks and a pair of mucklucks.
Sitting on ice.
And sitting on the ice, and then somebody comes up and says, well, let's build a fire. And my eyes cross and I'm leaving.
It's just one of those outdoor things that people like doing, and it kind of, you see it really travel through different family groups and stuff like that, and so it can't be that bad because it goes on from generation to generation. So that many
those
people,
that are left,
and so, but Salmon Dam, Oakley had been fishing really well this winter.
Really,
sorry to say that. Salmon Dam Magic has been doing okay.
Isn't it a lot more rewarding, though, to catch a fish in the spring or summer and fight with him and play with him a little bit than rather digging a little hole in the ice and hoping that you can pull him out of that hole?
I think people just get bored of sitting around watching football and basketball.
I don't.
They just want to get, I know you don't, but some people do, and so they
not to the point of wanting to freeze.
Man, we're going to have to buy you some big boy pants.
Just don't send McGargle.
And so, but ice fishing has been doing fairly good this year. So as long as we keep the ice.
Really, this is one of the first winters we've had reliable ice.
Well, it is. And, the bays at Salmon Dam have been nice and hard, and so people can get out on them, and we haven't had a lot of that. I just always caution people, look for underwater springs and stuff like that. But it is fun.
Take your neighbor's $60,000 truck.
I don't take the truck. I walk from the shore. But, Dog Creek, there's a lot of big fish out there right now over by Gooding, and it had been fishing really well. The only complaint I heard, this sounds funny, the only complaint that I heard from some people is they couldn't get the fish through the ice hole because the fish was too big, because we had got a bunch of these spawners from Clear Springs.
They couldn't get them through?
Yeah, they were so big in the shoulders.
You're kidding.
We planted them before the ice came on, then the ice came on, and they can't pull them through a 6-inch hole.
I never realized that you would call a fish and parts of their anatomy a shoulder.
Well, right where their head is.
Oh, okay.
You know, that part right behind their neck. I mean, I don't know where their neck and their shoulder and their back begin.
You are the expert.
But, you know, they call them the shoulders of the fish.
I see, okay.
So it's right behind the gills. So you kind of like where your shoulders begin, right behind the gills.
Easy, buckwheat. What about spawning bass?
Oh, I had a question asked me, and I thought it was kind of interesting. It was on bass spawn. We're kind of looking at doing a research project on this. Currently, our fish size limit has been at 13 inches for bass. In Idaho, most of our bass start spawning around 13 to 15 inches. The reason we had it that shallow or that small a fish is just so hopefully they could get through one spawning season, and then people could catch them and utilize those fish. We're actually in the process of doing a 5-year study on bass spawning, and we're looking at for some input. Well, we will be looking for some input on this, and we're going to try to find out exactly what size bass start spawning on. We may end up changing that size of fish, the slot limit on bass here in the next 5 years, depending on what this study comes out. And then we got a lot of bass fishermen around here.
Yeah.
We the bass, you know, we'd really like to increase bass numbers in these areas, but we're really hitting about maximum carrying capacity, what our habitat will provide, you know, for them, and so we can't increase it a lot, but if we can, we may be looking at trying to increase size a little bit.
I want to go back to what you said a minute ago, and then I got to do a weather forecast. But really, is this the truth that they could not get the bigger fish through the hole?
I had one guy call me and tell me that.
Wow.
He said the fish are too big.
The fish are too big. That's the first time I ever heard that complaint.
Wouldn't that be funny that you finally catch your fish through the ice hole? You've been sitting out there freezing to death all day, and then you get his nose up there and it sticks.
It's Moby Dick.
You're sitting there going, dang.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I think I'd be in the process of having somebody start hitting the axe.
Well, yeah, as long as they don't cut that little itty-bitty thin piece of monofilament.
Yeah, really. Oh, my good. I never heard that complaint before.
I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know for sure whether he could.
Why don't they try to pick him out of the water vertically instead of horizontal?
His nose was coming up because that's where the hook was stuck.
I see. Okay. We're going to have the weather forecast right now, and then we'll teach you more about ice fishing and how to jump out of the mugger ship and all that other stuff with Kelton Hatch in just a moment. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road. Jerome, Don Scarrow, and the rest of the crew with absolutely the finest in meat and meat processing. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Call them. Go over there. You're going to love the trip. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road. Jerome, the number, 324-7657. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, hopefully you're prepared for some more snow showers for today, because that is a possibility. About a 30% chance this afternoon. Slightly breezy winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 38, night low of 28. Tomorrow, going to be a day of reprieve, but the winds will be picking up out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour. Partly cloudy, high of 34 with an overnight low of 28. Morning snow showers expected for Friday, high of 35. And then rain and snow showers mixed for Saturday with a high of 38. Yesterday's high was 34 and the overnight low was 15. That's your weather for 7th Rand.
Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Yeah, buddy, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. You know, it's my fault, not yours. I'll take the blame when I make a mistake. We overlooked one segment of our program this morning about hunter education. What's going on?
We are. Get in class. If you're looking to apply for controlled hunts this year, it's time to start looking for classes. We've got a bunch of instructors that have been calling in, starting to set up our hunter ed classes. We've got a bunch of them coming up for instructor-led. We also have the online opportunity. Tanneray is doing a good job keeping a lot of classes going. The other thing that I'm looking for is hunter ed instructors. So if you would like to pass something on to the next generation of sportsmen, give us a call. What we look for is, just so folks understand what we do when we're looking for hunter ed instructors, we look with people that have hunting experience. We'll do a background check on them, and and then we'll put them through a training course, and then we'll have them teach with one of our other instructors for 2 or 3 classes until they feel comfortable, and then we try to team teach, so there's 2 instructors in the classroom at all times, and it's a great way to give back. If you enjoy hunting and you want to give back something, we've got a great group of volunteer instructors, and we're just looking for more volunteers in some areas.
Let me ask you a question about that hunter education. After the last program, I think it was you were here last month, weren't you?
I wasn't. Josh Royce came.
That's right. I had a call, and it was from a father, and he was in the Twin Falls area, and he said, what about girls? He said, are there a lot of girls that can go to these classes and not feel uncomfortable with all the guys? And he said, ask the Fish and Game about that.
You bet. I mean, it's amazing the number of young women that are participating in this. Our fastest growing segment of hunting right now is adult women.
You're kidding.
And young girls. No.
Really?
Just from the amount that are coming to class, I mean, it's not uncommon to have one of these classes that it's almost 50% ladies. And that's cool to see them getting involved and getting out. I mean, all the ladies in my life, my wife and my daughter, they hunt with me. They enjoy hunting. They get out. And, my grandmother and mother didn't.
Really?
But I think it was a generational thing.
Yeah.
And,
Is your wife really proficient at the use of firearms?
Very. That's why I told the line. She can outshoot me. She is actually a better long-range shot, much more stable with the rifle.
Really?
I always feel like, I do the hunting and she does she's a good shot.
Mon Pa Kettle do the hills.
Yep. And so it's fun to get out there. What's better than having your wife or your kids out there hunting with you? And,
really, if they enjoy it.
If they enjoy it. And so, a lot of women are involved in hunting. And then we get a lot of people that are just taking it just because you live in Idaho, you're going to come in contact with a firearm, and it's a good gun safety deal.
Now more than ever, I think it's very, very well received. Now, again, tell everybody class times, where they can call, sign up, etc.
The easiest thing to do is go on. We have so many classes. We run about 70 hunter ed classes or 80 a year.
A year?
A year, and then we have 1 to 2 field days, sometimes 4 field days a month and those are for the online students, so that's another 4 classes a month on that. So we get a lot of people going through hunter's education, but the way you find out about this is go to the Fish and Game website at fishandand, spell it all the way out, all one word, fishandgame.idaho.gov.
Okay.
And so there's no spaces in there, and you can go at the bottom, and there's a little orange oval that says Hunter Ed. Click on it and then just read through that page. It'll say classes being offered online, classes being offered instructor-led, archery education or bow hunter education, as well as the hunter's education. And so,
really?
And we're starting a new deal that we're doing some combined classes where people can sign up and get their hunter ed and their archery education at the same time.
How long are the classes?
You can do the online course, and it just depends on how quickly you can read through it. You're not going to pass the online course by just going on and doing the test. I don't know of anybody that's passed that test yet that hasn't gone through the course, the material. So it depends on how quick you read and can watch the videos online. Our classroom times are usually 5 days, 5 evenings for 2 to 2.5 hours, and then a Saturday for a field day.
Now, on these class times, are they every night of the week concurrently?
They are concurrently, and so we try to hit them during spring break, during Christmas break, for people that are too busy with school and sports and other thing, or they'll have to do it in the summer. We try to hit those breaks with different classes. But no, it is a commitment, and everybody goes, oh, it's just so hard to get to. Well, my kid just went through driver's ed, and now he's got to drive for 60 hours. I mean, if you want it, it's worth it. You'll do it, and it's definitely worth doing.
What about, we're almost out of time, and kind of a comparable situation. Hunting seasons are winding down.
They are. It's sad.
Really?
It is.
You got to have a little respite.
Well, I know, but I've only been hunting for 5 months.
Hunting for 5 months? My goodness. Now, what is still open?
You've got upland game, birds, you've got waterfowl, You've got lions. People are out chasing cats.
Hey, by the way, are there a lot of cats coming out of the South Hills?
We're getting a few harvested this year.
Really?
And so
why this year than other years?
Because they actually have snow to get up in there. Because you see, the Forest Service has a closure on this front range here that you can't take wheeled vehicles down the roads and stuff like that, but you can take over the snow. Well, this year we actually have snow to go over, so we're getting more hunters up there, because before you had to run a sled in there, and it was down a dirt road. You know, it was the only
Aren't
legal.
the cats the hardest thing to get?
You know, they're not if you're set up for them. I mean, mountain lions, a good trained dog, you run a trail, you see a fresh track, you take your dogs, you cut them loose. People that have more money in dogs than I did when I used to hunt cats a lot before I moved over here. And
but aren't they the most wary and elusive to really see and or without dogs?
Without dogs is, you know, I've had a friend that he's harvested 2.
Really?
And the way he's harvesting is predator calling. He finds new tracks, a fresh set of tracks, walks it down, and will set and predator call, and then walk another mile and following the tracks, and then predator call again. And when he comes to cliff outcroppings or drop-offs and stuff where they could be out of his sight, but snow adds a big thing that you can just walk them down and stuff like that, because I mean, if you get an old track, you may be on a long walk doing it that way.
Stand by. I want to tell everybody our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. You heard the weather forecast. Yep, they're going to be calling for some more snow. Now, you better be traction ready. They've got all the different tread designs, all the studded tires, all the snow wheels, all the tire chains. They got it all waiting for you to make sure you get through the snow, the muck, and the ice and everything. So make sure you stop in today to your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Brakes a little spongy? You rolled through that stopping sign? Well, you better stop in to the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, the absolute best in brake service with professionally trained technicians and premium quality parts, along with the alignments, the shocks and struts, and the best in batteries. Yep, you stop in and see my friends. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my old buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Last words, last thoughts.
Well,
I got a minute left.
I was just going to say, we still have waterfowl season, so there's lots.
A lot of ducks and geese.
It is, and with this cold weather and some storms coming in, get out and have some fun.
You know, what's the limit
on ducks?
Yeah.
I think 7.
You're supposed to know this.
I know. I'm not.
You're the PR man.
I know. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
I brought the rigs.
And geese.
I'm not a big waterfowler.
You're not?
No.
I thought you were the Jeremiah Johnson of everything outside.
Yeah, but you have to start picking.
He's looking at his book quickly before time runs out. While he's looking, I'll say
7 of any kind on waterfowl on
quit stuttering.
Ducks,
okay,
and 4 on geeses.
On geeses.
Geeses and gooses.
All right. You're listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call 312-0957 today. Kelton, thanks. Good report. We'll see you next month in February.
Sounds good, buddy.
Hey, take care of yourself, and thank you for all the time and effort you put together on the program this morning.
Well, thanks.
And don't fall out of the muggership.
Yeah, see, I don't do much mugging anymore.
I can see.
I used to do that in the old days, but now it's for the younger bucks.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow on the program, it's Thursday tomorrow, and we've got all kinds of segments, including we're going to have another guest on with the Pacific Legal Foundation, and we're going to be talking to Rita Ramsey and many, many more. Tune in. It's at 8:06 right here on K-Bar 1230 AM. Zeb at the Ranch until 11. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning. God bless.